Good morning. Thank you
morning.
very much for this opportunity. Madam Chair Murkowski, Senator Cantwell, members of the committee. As the Governor of Alaska, I am honored to present today comments about the ANILCA. I was born in Alaska, as you mentioned. I remember very well the day of statehood. I was 7 years old. We were in Delta Junction. We went to the A&W root beer stand. It was nobody's birthday. So I knew it was a big deal. Something had happened really big. It's about 150 miles as the crow flies from Cantwell, Alaska. So at some point, I hope you'll have a chance to visit Cantwell. You know, the excitement of becoming a state was one that we were of self-sufficiency. It was not unanimous that Alaska came in as a state. Many were concerned that can we make our way? We were told you will not have an I-5. You will not have the kind of infrastructure that other states have. You need to live off the resources. As part of that, the Statehood Compact was entered into, and the Statehood Compact is unique to Alaska. It says that in Alaska, we cannot sell the resources in the ground. We must live off the resources. That was the deal we made. There's a reversionary clause in the Statehood Compact that says if you do sell the resources in the ground, that land reverts back to the federal government. So we've been very careful to not sell resources in the ground. So it would be like a business that was having a difficult time. You had a warehouse, you'd sell the warehouse if you couldn't find a tenant, or you couldn't get access. We can't do that. We're very unique in that regard. We're to live off the land. So therefore, we paid close attention in 1980 when ANILCA was entered into. Two key provisions of ANILCA, and Senator Sullivan has gone through them well, as you have, Madam Chair. But one was compromise. That was a compromise piece of legislation, and it was to bring balance. And the balance, I mean, couldn't have been clearer than when President Carter talked about 100% access to offshore, 95% access to onshore. Today we have 1% access to onshore. We're trying to survive the downturn in a resource that's very important to our economy. And through a pipeline, I know in this city there's lots of discussions about pipelines. Let me tell you about our pipeline. I wear a lapel pin of Alaska with a pipe in it, and the only thing wrong with the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline is it's three-quarters empty. It's three-quarters empty largely because of lack of access to our resources. You know, the 1002 section of the coastal plain of ANWR, the 1002 comes from ANILCA, from the 1002 section. There's a specific exemption that says you can have. There's a process to have access to this particular region because they knew then, and certainly know now, that it is a very productive petroleum opportunity for our nation and for our state. It makes up 8% of ANWR. With the shift of the oil, now we need access to one half of that, the western half. That's 4%. 4% of that area that is set aside. So, you know, when I deal with budget deficits, when I deal with laying off 600 employees last year, we're looking at a significant more layoffs. I look at not being able to fund certain things we wanted to fund in our great state, and I look at that oil that is literally within 50 miles of an oil pipeline, an existing oil pipeline, not one that needs to go through any process to be built. It's there. That's very frustrating that we cannot have access to 4% of that area that was specifically set aside to be evaluated for resource development, knowing full well much has happened since the building of the Trans-Alaska oil pipeline, both in the way of technology, advancement, and other development around the world. Methods of extraction are now available that were not available before. The migration of caribou herds are different than they were before, so that needs to be looked at again, and we plan to do that in a very aggressive manner. You know, one thing I must say is that, you know, the makeup of Alaska has changed since we became a state. The Alaska Native Regional Corporations are major players in our state in every facet of it, and certainly in the business sector. You don't go to the North Slope of Alaska without seeing the incredible accomplishments of those corporations in our state. So they are significantly impacted by ANILCA in every way as well. We haven't gotten the benefit of the deal. The deal was, it was a compromise, and it was supposed to be balanced, and it hasn't been. the no more clause has not been honored. We have not had the access that we should have had. So I have my own interpretation of the no more clause, and I plan to use every day I have in office to make sure Alaska has access to our timber, to our mining, and to our oil and gas development. Thank you very much for this opportunity.